Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Intentional Productivity Tips. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner and host, Megan, and I am so glad that you are here to join us today. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I was going to say favorite, but then I realized I say almost every week that my topics are the favorite, but they are. But today's topic, again, near and dear to my heart. Today, we are going to be talking about trick or treat. Wave your wand to unlock the sweet spot of remote work. Remote work is something that has been important to me for my entire professional career. And so I want to talk today. There are some myths about remote work. And we know that right now in the world that there are some people who do not think remote work is the best idea. And so we want to bust some of those myths, and we want to find out the tricks and the treats of being able to work remotely. So again, my name is Megan Sandwick. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner. You can find this and other shows at USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube channel. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and even be notified when this episode is going to be on next week. I am on every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific. So let's talk a little bit about remote work. I'm going to put a presentation up that I've got right now. I'm going to share my screen. I am going to create and I am going to present information again about the sweet spot of remote work. Since it's October, we are in the trick or treat mode. And so today I'm going to wave my wand and we're going to overcome some of the myths of remote work. Our topic today, again, we're going to talk about two things. We're going to be talking about changing our perspective of remote work. And then we have a productivity quick tip, which is your closing time. Let's talk a little bit about remote work. As I mentioned, it's near and dear to my heart. I'm going to age myself here a little bit and say that I have been able to remote work for most of my jobs since the mid-90s. There were a few jobs where I had to be in an office in a brick and mortar building all of the time, but that actually has been far less of my career than the ability to remote work. So I know that there's some spooky myths out there about remote work. So today, let's separate some fact from fiction. We're going to look at three things when we're looking at some of the myths. We're going to look at the tricks. What are the key complaints of remote work? We're going to look at the treats. Let's look at the positive perspective. And finally, let's look at the spectacular. Let's look at some effective solutions that we will help to find how we can uncover the truth behind those spooky myths and reveal how remote work can be a rewarding experience. As I mentioned, we know that there are some myths about remote work. There are some people who say, boo, you can't work remotely because how are you not going to get lost in all of the tasks and how to figure things out? We're going to look at that. We're also going to look at, there are no goblins here. Let's look at some spectacular ways that we as individuals can stay connected with our network when we're remote working. We're going to look at, there's no skeletons in our closet. Let's stay connected as a team. We're going to look at, I am not ghosting, my hauntingly good progress. How do we share our progress and what we're doing? And then we're going to look at the monsters, myths, and managing this connection that can happen with remote work. Are you ready to move forward with it? So am I. We don't want to hide from remote work. Instead, we want to celebrate the treats that it offers. I like a quote that Jack Dorsey shared. Best business decisions come from a variety of perspectives. We are all better when we're together, even if it's apart. And I really like that. We are better when we're together, even if it's apart. The reason this topic became important to me, we know that during the pandemic, we know that a lot of companies and a lot of people embraced remote work. And I was excited because I was like, look, come to my team, come to the remote team, people. I know you are as excited for this opportunity as I am. We know now a few years later that companies are starting to rescind some of their remote work opportunities. The other reason I wanted to talk about this today, I recently was on a project management training and the facilitator was slamming and absolutely did not like remote work. There were several times when he was talking about how horrible it was and that it wasn't effective for teams to work remotely, that to be effective and to complete projects, you had to be in person. I was really hoping that it was an in-person training because I had some things that I wanted to share. As I said, I've been able to remote work with many jobs since the 1990s. Since 2014, I have been 100% remote work. And in fact, my job at Indelible now, we have a company policy. We will always be remote work because we know that it's important and that there are actually great things to happen. And we know that teams can be better if we're remote working or if we have that option at least. So let's look at some of those myths right now. The first one, boo, help, I'm lost in the remote woods. Sometimes when we're working, the complaint can be, I'm overwhelmed with learning how new programs or apps while working remotely. How am I supposed to figure all this out? And I'll be honest with you, I truly do understand that. I know there's been a couple projects that I've started, actually many projects when I've started, when someone has said, oh, hey, do you know how to use blah, blah, blah? Or have you used Salesforce before? Have you ever created a new visual? Have you ever created a graphic before? Have you created a video loop before? Have you used fill in the blank? A lot of times if we're working remote and even in person, but especially if we're working remotely, that can begin to feel overwhelming. But we don't want to look at the complaint. Let's flip it and look at the positive perspective. Embracing the opportunity to learn and grow in a remote environment can lead to valuable skills. One thing we've learned is if you learn one thing, you know you can learn something else because we know that there are similarities. But it can be a challenge. So let's talk about what are some of the solutions if I'm feeling like I'm remote in the woods. There's no one to help me. We know that we are actually able to go from boo to clarity, and we can be beautiful. I am really leaning into this Halloween theme. Sorry, hope you like it as much as me. But we know that there is a path to remote success. Whenever we feel like we might not know how to do something, or we've got to learn how to do something, or even if we're just having a day and we need some help and we're feeling that we're remote in the woods, we know that again, there are solutions. One of the things we can do is we can utilize YouTube and other tutorials. We are so connected and accessible. The information we have accessible these days, the trainings and the information on YouTube, even when you think about it, I was recently working on a project with Odoo. It's a program that we're using at Indelible. It's a tool, and I was having a challenge trying to figure something out. And so I went, and of course, now Companies and tools and resources have training videos or they have notes that are huge resources. Another recommendation I have is phone a friend. Join LinkedIn or Facebook groups for support and resources. Again, when you think about it, through social media, through internet, through different apps and resources, we're able to be connected with people. So our goal is to say, how can we use those tools to connect with people? I recently had a client who had a complex QuickBooks problem that would have taken him a while to figure out, and he didn't have that time to figure it out. One of the things he realized, and we realized, is there are a lot of people in this world that know how to use QuickBooks. So he found somebody on Fiverr that was able to. He spent $100, his QuickBook problem was resolved, and he was able to move forward. Sometimes we need to look at the value. Is it worth taking the time to learn it? Is there someone we can contact, or is there someone we can bring in to help us with it? I always say keep in contact also with the people you've worked with in the past, because again, you can ask them. We are in a world now where we're so interconnected that we have the opportunity to say, hey, I need help. Remember, you're not lost in the remote woods. There is a way out, and you do have lifelines. It just is a matter of opening your mind and saying there's solutions to this. So it doesn't have to be a negative thing that people can think. Let's look at our next myth. No goblins here. Let's talk about some spectacular ways to stay connected. Now, when I'm talking about staying connected here, I'm specifically talking about staying connected with individuals. I'm talking about a network of people. When we're in a physical office, we're around people. We're going to see people in the break room. We're going to see people. That is one thing that we don't have when we're remote working. So the complaint can be, it can be difficult to maintain connections with others while working remotely. I actually am going to disagree with that one and say, with a positive perspective, let's look for some spectacular vibes, right? Building a supportive network and expanding the global reach of your connections can enhance collaboration and well being. I will be honest with you, the ability to work with people in different countries and around the world and get to know them has been amazing to my life. I will tell you, I am a better person because of the people I have worked with remotely, both in the United States and around the world. So we know that, again, it can feel like, okay, I'm alone. What do I do? We know that there are some solutions. One thing I always say, identify your A team. I call them my A team, my angels. Who are you is available to connect with? Who's that person that you can call and say, or help, or I just need a vent, or I need to celebrate? All of those things are possible if you build your A team. It's about staying in connection and in contact with people. It's important to set up virtual happy hours or even Zoom coffee chats. Being intentional is important when working remotely and building relationships. I'll tell you, over the past few months, I've had a weekly happy hour that has made my life better. Some really good wine, but also connections and being able to talk and have. I know that each week I have a time that I'm going to be able to unwind and connect and even vent and celebrate as necessary. Be intentional to reach out to supportive contacts. And one thing I would say is the most important thing that I have learned is join professional groups or join professional organizations or meetups. I'll tell you, one that's been helpful for me has been Lunch Club. And I'll tell you, I would not have be on this show if it wasn't for Lunch Club, because I met Dr. Jacalyn through Lunch Club and we have made a connection. And so again, we don't have to be alone. We can build connections. We can be, it just takes being intentional to realize I need to build a network and team of people that I can have to support me. So when you think about it, there are really fun ways to forge connections remotely. I say do it. There's times when I have a friend where we would each go to a Starbucks and we would each connect and we would Zoom or we would FaceTime from there. So it was like we were at an actual coffee shop together. So distance doesn't have to limit us by any means. Let's look at the next myth. So there's no skeletons in our closets. Let's talk about staying connected as a team. One of the biggest complaints is, isn't it a challenge to keep the team connected and engaged without in-person interactions? And that's, again, when I hear people say, oh, we can't work remotely. We have to be in person to do this project. And there are times when it's fun to be in person and it is great to be in person. But again, we can stay connected as a team. Instead of saying it's a challenge and it's not going to happen, the complaint, we can look at the positive perspective and say regular intentional communication fosters a strong team culture and it improves collaboration. So, what are the solutions so that we are able to wave our wand and build connections so there's no skeletons, just team unity? One of the things I suggest, and one of the things I've done with my remote teams, so I had an opportunity to work for Upwork, the freelance platform, for about 2 years. I worked for the professionals team. We were all remote, and we were literally across the world. I, being on the West Coast in California, I was kind of the last person online, and I closed down and I handed over to somebody that was in Japan on the opposite side of the world. It was a great opportunity because we were able to, as we handed off from one another, we were able to build connections. I loved working with my Filipino virtual assistants because when I was logged off for my day on Monday, they were already on Tuesday. And so for me, it just gave me that positive expense. Hey, I'm looking forward to Tuesday. It's already here. I already have coworkers and colleagues that are working. So I say schedule regular check-ins or stand-up meetings. Now, I know some people are not fans of stand-ups, but I think stand-up meetings can be extremely effective if they're short, if they're on the point, and if they have the specific, if we're talking about the topics, what are we doing right now? What are the challenges that we have? Stand-up meetings are important for regular communication. Another important thing to build unity in teams, and that will help with remote work, is create a dedicated chat room for team-related discussions. Again, from when I worked at Upwork to any other companies, we always had, whether it be in Slack or Teams or any of the, right? Any of those channels, we would add a channel for the entire team that wasn't just work related. It was a place where we could share funny stories, we could share celebrations, we could talk about what's going on. Of course, there were always great jokes and things that were passed along. Having a place like that where it's not just about work focused on that, but it allows the team to be together and be able to share information is a huge way for us to be able to unify and be connected as a team. Organize Zoom happy hours and celebrate success. There's a quarterly happy hour or a holiday happy hour. I will tell you, when I was at Upwork, and we were able to have a Christmas party from around the world. Well, actually, it was a holiday party because we were celebrating many holidays together. It was a magical experience because I learned and I was able to experience a new tradition. Team meetings when remote. I will say this is one area that it is important to be intentional with. And it's important in a team meeting that we, again, share information. We give a chance for everyone to speak. Camera should be on. But again, a team meeting, we need to make sure that it is effective and that it's informational and productive. The benefit of remote work is that we can celebrate, right? Working internationally, it allows and increases our opportunities to learn about new experiences, traditions, and holidays, and just events. And so, again, when we're able to, one year when I worked with the team, I worked with an international team, and I love holiday music. So I'm in the thick of listening to holiday music right now, and I will be. Well, I listen to it all year, but I will be. One of the great things is we had an international team. And one of the things that I said is, hey, everyone, share your favorite holiday song. We made a YouTube playlist and I heard music and songs from other countries that I'd never heard before. And they're on my rotation playlist right now. So there are opportunities. One thing I do say is there needs to be, I know again, remote work can have some time zone issues. But we're also used to working in time zone issues. If you work remote, you know that working with different time zones, you might be having at meetings at different times of the day. That's just the way that it is. One thing I do suggest is to make sure that there is one meeting when everybody is on, either weekly or monthly, because in seeing everybody's face and being together is going to help with the team unity. The next complaint is, I'm not ghosting. Here's my hauntingly good progress. One complaint, which I understand and I have experienced, is how will they know I'm spectacular? I'm concerned about visibility and communication regarding work progress. The positive perspective of that is intentional open communication and transparency builds trust and accountability among team members. So if we're intentional to share and give updates, it's going to help for people to see the good work that you're doing. The other thing that I'm going to say, again, having managed and supervised hundreds and hundreds of people remotely, one thing I'm going to say is I always knew whether people were working or not. You know if people are getting their stuff done. And so one thing I want to say is managers, if they're aware, they will definitely know what you're working on. The other thing is I say it's a great opportunity, and one solution is, hey, there's no ghosts here, so I'm going to share my progress. I always say communicate online presence and availability to team members. There are a lot of days when there's a time in the middle of the afternoon, maybe from like 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, when I've woken up early, I've been awake early, and I have maybe later calls, and maybe I take a break in the middle of the day. There's no shame about that. That is okay. The thing is, just make sure everybody knows about it. And so what I always say is communicate your presence, make available, whether it's on your calendar, whether it's on your messages, let people know I'm available or I'm not available. Now, this next one goes back to, again, having been a manager. And if people are never answering my messages, if they're never answering my Slack messages, my email messages, if it takes people I'm working with, like let's say over 24 hours to answer any of those messages, kind of gives me a clue that they're not online. So one of the things I always recommend and I always do is I'm not saying you have to drop everything and answer every email or every message in that moment. But when it's in the flow, if you're able to be responsive, people know you're online. And again, they know you're not ghosting. One thing I learned at a recent company I worked for, because I had a boss that was gone for the first 3 months of me starting the job, I realized that, okay, I don't know how I'm going to be able to tell her 3 months of what I've done. So what I started to do is every Friday afternoon, I sent a weekly status email, and it included my accomplishments for the week. It included what I was going to do the following week and any challenges or support I needed. Having a process or something formal like that, where you're able to send to your boss or your clients or colleagues, or even one that you send to everybody, if you have an update email, again, it shows what you're doing. And there's no ghosting because you're celebrating and they're aware. I always say focus on building confidence and trust when it comes to with your coworkers and clients through transparency. Being open and honest, being available and sharing. Again, if you're going to be traveling, then tell somebody, I'm going to be traveling and flying. Recently, over the last 3 weeks, I've been traveling and have been in and out. And so I tell my coworkers, I tell my clients, I tell the people I'm working with, hey, I'm going to be driving this time. I'll be working online this time. Again, it's about being honest. There is nothing to hide. Remote work is a great opportunity. It allows us to get done what we want, and it allows us to live our lives. So I highly recommend finding strategies that work for you. The final myth we want to talk about is monsters and myths in managing disconnection. So the complaint can be, I struggle with maintaining a consistent workflow and managing personal preferences while working remotely. One of the things that we need to be honest with is when it comes to remote work is we are at home or wherever you are. I've been in hotels the last couple of weeks. I was at a resort. I'm at my family's house. Wherever you are when you're working remotely, it is important to realize that you have to create your processes. You have to find what works for you, find your rhythm and flow. Because if you're in your rhythm and flow and you have what you need to get done, it's going to be much better. So, a positive perspective is being intentional to establish a dedicated work environment. Habits and work hours can enhance focus and productivity. What do I mean by that? So, I always say one of the solutions is create a dedicated workspace for better concentration. When we're working remotely, again, we know the myths are they're not working, they're doing something else, they're watching TV, they're doing laundry, they're cooking, maybe they've got their kids at home. All those things can be true. And that doesn't mean we're not working. So the thing is, again, to prepare for it. And if you know your type of person that you're going to be multitasking, Be sure you've got a place to dedicate for work. Another thing that's important when it comes to this, I'm going to go out of order and then come back up, is identify your peak creative times and establish block schedules for focused work. For example, as I've mentioned with you all before, I am not a person that is able to get up and be super productive, project oriented, focus in the morning. I can get up and have client calls in the morning because I am able to connect and talk, but me sitting at a desk in front of my computer working or first thing in the morning is just not my flow. I am an afternoon person, a later afternoon person. I am an evening person. I'm a middle morning person. So if we all, when we're remote working, it gives us the ability to be able to say, okay, here is my flow and here's how I work. Set realistic expectations and also create block times. So, for example, on weeks that I'm going to be doing intentional productivity tips, which is every Wednesday on USA Global TV and Radio YouTube channel, like, subscribe. Anyways, I know on Wednesdays I have a show at 5 o'clock. So I have blocked off the 3 hours before it so that I know that I can get ready and do whatever I need to, not have calls. I can do what I need to get ready for the show. Again, when we're remote working, we want to look at our calendar, we want to look at our day and how it works. And then the last thing we want to do is if you are traveling, you want to identify again, we know we've got a dedicated workspace. What are the things you need? For me, I always have my iPad, I always have a notebook, I always have pens, and I always have some stickers. That's what I take with me where I am. Because when I sit down with that, wherever I am, I feel focused and I know I'm centered and it's time to get work done. When we think about it, while remote working for many people seems scary, we can overcome the myths with some spooktacular realities and some solutions that are going to help make us a better person. One of the reasons I think remote work is such a great thing is because it opens up our experience, it opens up our network, and we're not limited to work with people just in our regional location. We're able to work with people around the world. And enables us to have the best skills and the best abilities and to be able to be better ourselves. As I said earlier, I am a better person because I have worked remotely and worked with people from around the world. So if I could wave my wand, I would create a fun and productive remote work life for everybody. I would create the opportunity whenever possible. I know there are some jobs that cannot be remote, but for those jobs that are, like I said, I would like to wave my wand and say that there are treats and that it's a spectacular opportunity. Remember, as we talked about, we went from boo to clarity. We can navigate our path to remote success by learning, by looking at the resources, and by surrounding us with people who can provide information. Goblin gathering. There are fun ways to forge connections remotely by being intentional and by saying, hey, reach out to people. Don't shut down. Open yourself up to opportunities. For teams, we can build connections so that there's no skeletons. It's team unity, and it's team unity from around the world potentially. There are no ghosts here. Remember, there are strategies for sharing progress. You don't have to feel like you're ghosted or that nobody knows what's going on, because through transparency and intentional communication, you can share what's happening. And then we can slay the monsters. There are tips for a more enjoyable remote experience so that you're able to be your best. That is what I wanted to talk about again and remind you there are fabulous things about the remote work world. When we hear the negativity and when we hear people talking bad about it, remember that there are challenges, but there are also is a positive perspective and there's solutions. The next thing I want to talk about today is our productivity quick tip of the week. Today's and this week's productivity quick tip, it's a closing time brew, if you will. It's looking at when are you closed? Treat yourself by setting closing hours. When working remotely or when working in this world, we know that one of the negatives is that there are people online always. You can always work, but we need to have closing time hours. We need to have hours that say we're not working right now. Just like a spooky Halloween night, it's essential to have a time when the work goblins are put to rest. Why? Because according to a study published by the Journal of Happiness Studies, taking regular breaks, including at least one full day off per week, can significantly improve overall well-being, and productivity, reducing burnout by 33%. So if we have a third of a chance to be able to reduce our burnout, isn't it worth taking a day a week to be able to do that? So I highly suggest that you identify your closing hours. The benefit of setting closing hours, once you define your closing hours, people will be aware of them and it sets a boundary for you. It's important that you protect your downtime. I will be honest with you, my closing hour is from when I log off on Friday until Sunday morning. During that time on Friday night and Saturday, I do not, everybody knows, my clients know, everybody that I work with knows, I am not going to be online. Now, I might, if there's something I want to work on, a lot of times on Saturday mornings, I might work on something creative or there might be something like that, but it's my choice. And I only have one client that I will schedule meetings for on Saturday, and that's because she's 17 years old. And that's an arrangement we have, and I want to support her in that way. So you want to protect your downtime. Let people know. Say, no, I am closed. Communicate clearly and embrace the benefits of being able to say, I look forward to when I log off on Friday. A lot of times I'll set a message to everyone, office closed. It helps us to be able to live our life. Setting boundaries is not just a treat for you. It enhances your overall productivity and well-being. Remember, it reduces the opportunity for burnout by 33%. So no tricks, just boundaries, and I'm off the clock. So what I say is go off. It's time to be able to say I am out of office. Identify your closing hours, update your calendar, notify all the people, and even set up auto reply. It is important to be able to say, I am closed and I'm taking this time off of work. I'm not available. There are some jobs, brain surgeons, things like that, probably might not be able to be off the clock as well because it might be a life or death situation. But if it's not, it is important to set boundaries and say, you know what? I'm going to be closed. I'll get back to you on Sunday or I'll get back to you on Monday, whenever that is. I highly recommend it. Try it. You'll like it. Let me see what you think. Let me know how that goes for you. So this week's productivity quick tip is setting your closing time hours. So this week we've talked about, we're not worrying about ghosting. We're not worried about ghosting. We're going to wave our wand and unlock the sweet spot of remote work. Today we talked about changing our remote work perspective. I hope the myths, the solutions, and even the positive perspective, I hope at least one of those resonated with you. And you're able to realize, you know what? I am going to join a group similar to Lunch Club, or I am going to start to reach out to people, or I'm going to schedule a happy hour. And then we also talked about our productivity quick tip of closing time. As always, every week, my goal is that you learn at least one thing that you can take forward with you. I am Megan. This has been Intentional Productivity Tips. I am so thankful that you spent this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific. Again, you can find me on USA Global TV and Radio on the YouTube channel. You can also find me on my website, my company website, indelible.global. You can email me at megan@indelible.global, or you can follow me on Instagram at Intentional Productivity Tips. I hope you make this week a great week. Be productive, have fun, and enjoy the life that you've worked so hard to create. Now a word from our sponsors.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting The Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance and Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Felix Kravitz. I have taught seniors and understand the crucial importance of online safety education for this community. I have also taught and worked at various colleges, universities, and training facilities in the Chicago region. My goal is to educate seniors, helping them to feel safer while navigating the digital world. Call me today to learn more and get started. Together, we can enhance our seniors' understanding of safety concepts when using technology. Contact cybersecurityeasy.com LLC by visiting our website www.cybersecurityeasy.com. Call us at 847-845-9360 or email us at info@cybersecurityeasy.com.
Hello everyone, I'm Simon MacDonald. I live in the West Highlands of Scotland, a very beautiful part of the world. Seems a long way from the USA Global TV station. But remember, USA Global TV is worldwide. It's a fantastic platform. And every Wednesday, I come along here as part of the show of the United Kingdom News and Culture. And it's just like a family reunion each time. It's one of these amazing stations that has such a beautiful, friendly, and intelligent atmosphere as well. And we reach out to an audience in the most unimaginable places. And I came here, I don't know, must be over a year ago now. I was introduced by Dr. Philip Chan. And I met Ian Plum-Turner and Helena Chard, who are co-presenters on the show. And then Diane Floyd-Bem came along as well. And I mean, the five of us, Dr. Jacalyn, of course, who is our host and our mentor, has just made this show work so well. Tremendous people, lovely time we have. And we impart a lot of information, a lot of knowledge. Nothing's rehearsed. It's all done off the cuff. And it all just gels. And we get great feedback from people coming back and saying how they're enjoying the show. It's lovely to hear. And it's lovely to get that interaction from outside as well. And we're all listeners. And some of us are elevated listeners as well. So we enjoy every second of it. And we hope you do too.